Hi, friends. There's nothing like going and picking up your selfish bowl, going up to the cemetery to eat it while visiting with your significant other, and to find the headstone was placed. This is Marcia. Today I'm going to be speaking to you about my experience and how I've been going through the grief process. I tell you, it is horrible. Horrible. There's no other way to put it other than horrible. Um, Noah isn't my first loss. I have lost other people in my life. Some that I truly loved and totally adored, and meant the world to me in so many different regards. I lost my mother-in-law, Noah's mother, and that was horrible. And then I lost my other mother-in-law, my first husband's grandmother, and that was horrible. These two women, I tell you, would do anything for me, and I would do anything for them. They were love and compassion and consideration, and I just loved them. But the jelly on the roll is they loved me. And it's just amazing how many stories you hear of in-laws who they have these discrepancies and these feuds and they don't get along. And my mother-in-laws loved me, and I know it, and they showed it. So those were really, really, really hard losses. Um, I lost my mother. Uh, I think it was like 6 years ago in 2018, and that was different. That was different because my mother and I had a different relationship. Um, she birthed me, she raised me, she knew all about me, and I knew of her whatever I feel I knew of her, but God blessed us to come back into each other's lives near the end of her life, and she was able to come and live with us for a brief minute and then live near us. And I had the ability to make my own schedule. I was doing Uber and Lyft at the time, so I was able to make my own schedule, to drive when I felt like driving. And in the meantime, I was up there with my mother every single day. We were going out for walks. I was bringing her to and from the doctor's appointments. We were having really great conversations, and she allowed me to see a side of her that I don't feel I grew up seeing. And so it brought us closer together. And I'm so forever grateful for having that opportunity and that experience. Um, then I lost my youngest son. He was murdered when he was 20 years old. And that right there, I thought was going to be the end of me. I thought that there could never be anything worse to go through than that. I kid you not, I feel like it took me about 10 years to get over the hump of the grieving process and to try to move on with my life. I stopped going to the church that I got the first marriage that I got married in. Actually, both marriages were in the same church, but the church that I got married in. the church that he was baptized, that he was dedicated in, that he was baptized in, that he accepted Christ in, that he grew up from the day he was born, and with all these children, and he had his life experiences and they had theirs, but you couldn't put anything past the fact that they were all integrated, and they knew each other and they loved each other and they were there for each other. And when he died, I stopped going to that church, mainly because although I loved all of these children, and I wanted them to be productive and successful and have great lives, they were out here living their lives and he wasn't. And it was incredibly hard for me to reconcile that. It may have been selfish on my part, and if it was, I'm sorry, but I just had a hard time with that. Not long afterwards, I lost my stepson. He was murdered, and his murder couldn't have come at his death couldn't have come at a worse time, because I was still going through my grieving process, and Noah had to begin his grieving process. And it was so hard for us to deal with both losses, but on our terms. And it was just very difficult to deal with it. And anyone that knows my stepson, they know that he was like happy-go-lucky. He was funny. He liked to think that he was really funny, and he was, and he liked to make people laugh, and he did. He made us laugh. The thing about losing those two, they were, well, of course, my youngest son was with me most of his life until he got older, and so he knew who I was and he knew how things were and whatnot. But my stepson came to us at I'd like to say an older age, so I would say like maybe around 10, 11ish. And so he didn't really know how I was and how I did things, and he had to learn me and my ways. And I was so extremely fortunate to have dealt with them through their lives the way that I had to deal with them, and for them to, at a particular point in time, be able to come to me. My son had went away to school in North Carolina, and he called me up one evening and he said, okay, my class project is working on this, and we've gotten this and that and the other. We put this together, we put that together, we made this. All we have left to do is blah, blah, blah. And he said to me, did I forget anything? You will never, ever know what that meant to me. I've spent this boy's whole entire life trying to lead him and guide him and nurture him and help him to understand what was important in life. What was it? I'd say, did you do your homework? Okay, he would do his homework, of course, like any kid, halfway. And I'd say, no, you did this, but this is what the assignment is. So you need to sit down and you need to do this. Okay, you got all of these right, but check out this one again. Reread it and rethink about it, because the answer you gave isn't what they're asking you. Okay, we're going here. These are the directions. You need to make sure you follow these directions so that you can get here safely. everything, every step of the way. You need to get up on time. You need to take a bath. You need to brush your teeth. You need to his whole life. And you're probably saying, oh, that's a kid. No, you have no idea. I have an older son, an older child. And they were night and day. And my second one was my challenge. He was the one who I always had to make sure he was on track. I always had to go that extra mile to make sure that he did what he needed to do. I always had to, and for him to call me and to lay it out for me, we did this, we did that, we did the other. Did I forget anything? Did I leave anything out? Is there anything else I need to do? I kid you not, while he's on the phone, I'm sitting there crying and thanking God that, oh my God, he got it. He gets it. He's finally showing his maturity and showing that he is growing. And the next night he was taken from me. The next night he was murdered. To be given such a gift, and for it to be taken away just so quickly. As I said before, I feel like it took me 10 years of being mad at him, being mad at God, being mad at the world, being mad at any and everything, because he was no longer in my life in the physical form. Okay, my stepson. Me, Noah, and our two youngest lived in the house together. And we did what people who live in the house do. So we had started having game nights, and we would play silly games, Hangman's Noose and Monopoly, and just like family games, Pictionary, just family games, just to spend time with each other, just to get along, have fun, blow off steam. And as I stated before about my son and his homework, I would go through it, make sure it was right and whatnot. Well, I would do the same thing with my stepson. It was a lot more challenging because my son grew up around me and he knew what my expectations are. So he put more effort into his work because he knew it was going to have to get done, irregardless. It was going to have to get done, and it was going to have to get done right. My stepson didn't grow up around me until he was around 10 or 11 years old. And so he didn't know the expectation, and he would do everything he possibly could to not produce what I was looking for. And he would say, well, the teacher didn't say that. And well, the teacher didn't tell us that. And that's not what it said. And I mean, it was always like this whole drawn out thing. And he wouldn't, he would try to do he would try to do what he felt needed to be done. And then I would come back and say, well, you got to look at this, you got to look at that, you got to read this is what the instructions say. And so each night it was this ritual that he and I would go through. And at some point of the night, Noah Sr. would get upset with me and say, just leave him alone. Just leave him alone. He did what he's going to do. Just leave him alone. And I would say, no, there's no way I can leave him alone and not leave Maurice alone. So if Maurice has to do it, he has to do it. To make a long story short, and believe you me, it's a long story. To make a long story short, we had gone to my mother-in-law's house for Thanksgiving, and we had the opportunity of all of us being around each other at this one particular Thanksgiving at my mother-in-law's house. And Noah Jr., being the jokester that he was sitting in the living room, and he had us all cracking up and this and that and the other. And then he started, yeah, y'all don't know Marsha. Y'all don't know Marsha. Marsha don't play. Marsha don't play. I remember when I would have a homework assignment and I would say, "Oh, I'm just going to do this," and she would come back with, "No, you're not. You're going to do da 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 da." And everything he said, he had us laughing at. But it was so funny that all this time I'm sitting here thinking, "Does he get it? Does he get it? He just doesn't get it." But he was getting it. He was getting it. He said, yeah, we would have game nights and we would do this game and we would do that game and we would be cracking up and we would have, and he had the whole room cracking up telling these stories of his and my relationship that I did not even realize he thought we had, which totally blew my mind and was such an incredible blessing to see that I touched his life in such a fun and loving and caring way that made him share it with everyone on that Thanksgiving. I used to always tell my boys that you have to be nice and be kind and be helpful to other people because you don't know when that is going to be needed by someone you love, a family member, a friend member, whoever, someone from your community. You don't know when that kindness that you serve is going to be served to someone else further. I said you could give someone I don't know. I would use an example like I say, okay, so you could give this person a couple of dollars because they're asking you for that right now. And so then their uncle gave their nephew something, a couple of dollars because of whatever was going on in their life. And then their nephew gave a friend of theirs a couple of dollars, and somewhere along the line, some relative of yours that was in need and might not even realize the relationship to everyone, but they were given something that they needed because of your kindness. What one gives, one begets, and I know that some people call it karma. You can call it whatever you want, but I am a wholeheartedly believer that when you do good for others, when you do kindness unto others, you will get kindness in return. And it may not come to you directly, but somewhere along the line, someone that you know and or love will get something that they need because of the kindness that you gave someone else. So my stepson was telling these stories of us, and he brought up the fact that one day we were riding down the street and we came to this intersection, and a car was sort of stalled in the middle of the intersection, but on the busy side of the road. And I pulled up to the light, which was red for us at the time. And when I pulled up to the light and I said, what is going on? What? And he and I both saw at the same time it was this little old lady. He jumped out the car. He ran. He asked her if she was okay. And then he told her to steer while he tried to push the car out the way. Well, when that happened, a couple of other people from other cars jumped out and they helped out also. And they were able to push the car off into a parking lot. And so after it was all said and done, he just got in the car and he was just like it was nothing. Well, he was telling the story at Thanksgiving, and I was just like amazed. Like his concept was he knew that's what I would do. And that's what I expected him to do. I didn't have to say anything to him. I didn't have to say, hey, go get out the car, go help her, go do whatever. He just, as soon as the car came to a halt, he jumped out the car, ran over there and did. I can't tell you the joy that brought to me that he was able to share that while he was alive. And that just made me feel so incredibly good that all this harping that I'm thinking I'm doing, yelling, pestering, bugging, and everything, he's feeling it and he's taking it to heart. And he's saying, this is what she wants and this is what she expects. And I'm going to give her the best of me. I love that. I love that. I love that. So, last year, I received a phone call from Bay State Hospital, and they asked me, did I have any brothers? And I said, yes, I have three. And I named the three brothers, and they said, well, one of them is here. And I said, okay, do you need me to come? And they said, as soon as you possibly can, but we need the next of kin. So I referred them to who the next of kin was, who they explained the whole situation to. And all in all, my brother was dying. And it was incredibly sad because we had no idea. He knew he was sick for a long time, but he didn't share it with all of us. He shared it with someone, but he didn't share it with all of us. But my thing is with this, he and I were talking, it must have been like maybe 15 years ago, I don't know. And he used to always say, my daughter, my son, my this, my that. And he would be speaking of people that I had no idea who they were. I had never met them. I didn't know them. And so one day I said to him, listen, I don't know who these people are, but whoever they are, if something happens to you and nobody gets in touch with me, I'm going to be pissed. So you need to figure out a way for all of us to meet so that we can exchange contact information so that if something happened to you, they could let me know. Because I'm going to be mad if something happens to you and I wasn't informed. Well, the woman from the hospital asked my brother, is there anyone that he wanted to get in touch with? He said, yes, my sister. And they said, okay, so what is her name? And he said, Marcia, but he gave them my first married name, and he gave them the address that I lived at like 30 years ago. But the people at the hospital took the names he gave them with the address, and they were able to track me down through their records, and they had to go into the archives and everything in order to pull the correct information that they needed in order to get to the person that I am right now and find me. But they found me. They found me. And it was an incredible blessing that not only did my brother take what I told him to heart, he found me, and I was able to spend the last couple of hours that he had on this earth with him. And I am overjoyed with that ability. I mean, I can't tell you how often I am blessed with these type of situations. I am blessed with these type of situations. As I said before, I lost many people. I've lost friends. I've lost family members. I've lost loved ones. I've lost acquaintances. I've lost many people. This past January, I lost Noah. Please join me next Saturday as I continue the story of my Noah. I will share with you our life experiences, and then I will share with you my grieving process. Hang in there with me because it's going to get interesting. Not only what I've been experiencing, but also I will start having conversations with other people, and they will be sharing with you what they've gone through and how they've dealt with their grief. And hopefully you'll be able to relate to someone, and that will help you to get through your grieving process. If you like this video, please like, if you found this video helpful in any way, please like it. If you think it will help someone else in any way, please share it. And by all means, feel free to subscribe. This is Marcia, and I thank you for sharing your time with me. See you next Saturday.